tune in. Dr. D is here. Let the show begin. Talking health from head to soul. Answering your questions, making you whole. Physical, mental, social, and more. We're diving deep into what life's for with special guests. The experts arrive on medical radio where you'll thrive. Dr. D's got the answers just for you. Taking care of your health and all you do. Body, mind, spirit, let's find the key. On medical radio with Dr. D. Woo! From healing bones to finding peace, your wellness grows and doubts will cease. Tune in now, it's your time to see the power of balance and harmony. Physical, mental, social, and more. We're diving deep into what life's for with special guests. The experts arrive on medical radio where you'll thrive. Dr. D's got the answers just for you. Taking care of your health and all you do. Body, mind, spirit, let's find the key. On medical radio with Dr. D. Woo! Saturdays we're talking health and life. With Dr. D, you're feeling right.
1st of February, guys. Honesty is the name of the game. Welcome to another edition of Medical Radio. Just in case you just happen to be coming across by this channel by accident, my name is Dr. Henry Dowling, otherwise known as Dr. D, and I am a family practitioner here in the beautiful island of Bermuda. Going on 20-some years now, I guess. Gosh, I'm getting old. Gray hair there for a reason. And this is Medical Radio, where we talk about everything. I'd like to say we talk about your diabetes, we talk about your high blood pressure, we talk about everything, including how's your relationships going, all that kind of stuff, because life is about balance, and when you fall off the balance, things go crazy. And a lot of times, you know how we learn how to deal with this? We learn how to lie to ourselves. My patients do that so well. Everything's going great, doc. Meanwhile, the blood pressure's super high, or this is going on, troubles in all parts of their life. But you know what? There's always somebody who can walk alongside of you. But you know what? You got to start somewhere. And this is where we try to get you started here on Medical Radio. Now, just in case you have not heard any of my shows before, I have somebody here who has graciously been willing to give me a little bit of her time. She's a very busy woman, but she's very passionate about what she does. And I said I'd have her on the show today to go over some stuff that, good morning, Mrs. Dill. Let's start off with that way. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Are you a morning person?
I am a morning person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning?
Not that kind of morning
Not
person.
that kind of morning. Yeah. Okay.
You mean going to bed late morning person? 1 a.m. morning person? No, I'm a morning person. I'm sad. I'm in bed by 9:30.
Okay. That's actually a great time.
Yeah.
I've been doing this whole watch thing that measures my sleep. So I've been trying hard to see what my average is, and usually I do really well when I get like 9 hours, which is incredible. Wow, I got 9 hours. But, bad times for me are like 5.
Oh, yeah. No, 5 for me. My husband calls me stupid. Seriously.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Hey, stupid, I love you.
Yeah. I'm just stupid. If I get 5 hours, 2 days of stupidness, and I become really, really stupid. So, fortunately, I got 9 hours last night, so I'm very smart today.
Okay, all right. Remember those times in college where you could just get away with 4 or 5 hours and still pass the test?
Yeah.
I don't think I should take that test anymore with these kind of hours.
No, I don't think so either. I don't know how the kids do it nowadays. Their times are so much different than what we went through.
Well, That's why my kids say, Dad, that was a long time ago when you went to college. This is
Yeah.
a very different time.
Yeah.
So
Did they ask you if you had college when you went?
my
Sorry, I
son teases me
digress.
about my abacus that I used to add and subtract, you know.
And my typewriter. I had a typewriter at college. Yeah.
Can't even picture. I kept my typewriter. When I moved back to Bermuda, I had one typewriter that I kept in the corner because I'm a hoarder, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I kept it in the corner, the just-in-case typewriter.
Yes.
I don't think I ever brought it out. Eventually, I said, okay,
Yeah.
I got to let this baby go.
Well, I if anybody knows what this is, I had a Dvorak keyboard. I couldn't afford a real typewriter.
Okay.
So there was a typewriter on sale while I was at college, but it had all the keys in a different place.
Ooh,
It's
okay.
called, you can Google it.
Okay.
It's called a Dvorak keyboard.
Okay.
So I typed on that all through university, and then when I got to the real world, I was like, I have no idea how to type because all the keys are in the wrong place. But, you know, and nowadays I just dictaphone and we're good to go.
Oh,
So-
wow. See, and now
Yeah.
AI just
And
translates
AI
for you
has-
now. And
Yes.
sooner or later,
Yeah.
when they decide to take over the world, we
Yeah.
become irrelevant and they'll
Yeah.
just plug us into the matrix and just feed off our bodies.
Yeah. So if I put into ChatGPT, who is Dr. D?
Ooh, gosh,
What
what would
comes
come up? That would be scary.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. That would be a little bit odd.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I'm going to do
actually.
that after the show. Now thousands of people around the world are doing it right now, and they're going to answer you. Yeah.
Well, I told people when I first came on for the new year, I said, you know, my opening theme song was
Yeah.
completely AI. There's no human involved in that whatsoever. I put into Chat GP, I want a theme song for a medical show with this, and it pulled out this.
Yeah.
And then I took another thing and I said, okay, I want you to write the music for this with
Yeah.
these. And it came up with different, do you want it as a jazz? Do you want it?
God.
It's
Yeah.
so wonderfully scary.
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is.
It's like
Yeah.
steroids. It's
Yeah.
the best, worst
Yeah.
thing out
Yeah.
there.
No, I use it for my job. I absolutely do.
Wow.
I use it to check and verify and then give me ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I change it as soon as it comes through because part of the time I answer politely back saying, that's completely wrong. And then it apologizes very politely and says, sorry,
Right.
what about this?
Got you.
So,
Got you.
yeah.
Now, I said I wanted to bring you on because your job that I knew you as when I first moved here
Yes.
is not what you do now.
Do we have to talk about that?
Well, just so we can, I always like to make sure, because maybe some people don't know who you are or what you do or whatever, but you became in my mind, in my sphere, under the heading of a drug rep.
Yeah, I'm
a
morphed.
pharmaceutical rep.
Yes.
I don't want to say
Yes.
drug rep.
Yes.
Psst, you want some
Yeah.
morphine?
Well, I did get stopped at customs several times for people using that term. So, yes, absolutely did. No, I did. I actually started out in the pharmaceutical industry, and I did that for, I'm going to say, close to 20 years.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah, I worked all over the Caribbean, Central America, North America.
Traveled a lot.
Traveled a lot, worked with the different drug agencies, worked on pricing, and I worked on pricing for Bermuda to try and get their prices down. And I loved it for many years. I love science.
Right.
So I kind of spent most of my time reading articles, interacting with people like you.
You'd go around to the different doctor's
go around to
office
the
and say,
doctors.
hey, this is what my company now has.
Exactly.
Got
yeah.
you.
And I loved it. And then the industry changed, not particularly in a
good way.
positive way. The science became less important and the dollar became a lot more important. And I realized that I wasn't quite sure that I was still helping people.
Right.
And that was
Ooh, I know
one
what
of
that
the-
feels like. You feel like, I don't know if I'm actually doing what I think I'm doing.
And my background is food science.
Right.
So it's food science and nutrition. So I decided to go back to that,
Right.
originally in sports medicine, and did that extra addition for sports nutrition and psychology. And I also did life coaching when I was in the pharmaceutical industry. So I decided that, you know, if I really wanted to change Bermuda, then let's start at the beginning.
One person at a time.
And that is exactly what our company says, changing Bermuda one person at a time.
So maybe I could almost see the billboard
Yeah.
as I'm driving across the airport with you pointing like, changing Bermuda one person at a time. That's a great catchphrase.
It is. I mean, it is interesting because I can sit with you one-on-one and we can have a discussion about your well-being.
Right.
And it is just you. But when you go home, most of the time you talk to somebody else, and then they talk to somebody else, just
Right.
like you're doing on the show.
Or they Google it.
Or they Google it.
Right.
And I find that it spirals. I mean, the good intentions do spiral.
Right.
So if we can talk more about good habits and good outcomes, then medicine 1.0 is less needed. So my job is to put you out of business.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I've been dabbling with the idea of getting out of business anyway, but unfortunately, people have made me think I will never be fully irrelevant because the body wants what it wants,
Yes.
and it craves the things that in real nature would exist in very small amounts.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, in this newfangled technology, they can get all the bad stuff
Yeah.
in large quantities.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're paying the price, not only individually,
Yeah.
but as a company, a country, a community, all aspects along the way
Yeah.
are paying this price.
Yeah.
So you now are no longer a drug rep,
I
a
am
pharmaceutical
not.
rep.
Nope.
You
Yeah.
now are officially what?
Yeah, I'm a nutritionist.
You're a nutritionist.
And a wellness coach.
Now that's
So,
different than a dietitian.
100%.
I want people to
Yes.
understand that because
I am not
know the two
a
people
dietitian.
sometimes get worried.
Yeah.
And what's the basic
Yeah.
difference, if you could?
So we had the same degree. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we basically have the same degrees at university, but I did not go on to do a 2-year in the practical at the hospital.
Got you.
Yeah. So I do not treat very sick patients.
Patients, right.
Yes.
With very complicated diseases
exactly.
and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And I tell people that's the same as like two people go to med school, they finish med school, one goes out into the community,
Yeah.
one goes on and does a residency in a hospital for X amount of years, rotates through all the different subspecialties, and then comes out with a specialty in.
Yes.
Boom. So the dietitian went on in the hospital, floats
Right.
around, sees all the complex diseases
Yeah.
and how their food choices will interact. You, on the other hand, says, you know what? I'll leave that to them.
Yeah.
I want to deal with average
Prevention.
Joe guy
Yeah.
and see if I can stop them from getting
Yeah, exactly.
to that place.
Yeah. I am fascinated by human behavior. So I'm trained in human behavior as well. Absolutely fascinated.
That was the best psychology course I ever took.
Yeah, and
behavioral science.
It is. It's the hardest thing to figure out why we do
What we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and why we keep doing what we do,
Even though we know we don't want to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah,
Lord,
yeah.
help me take away this urge
Yeah.
to do what I know is
Yeah.
wrong.
And I don't think it's willpower.
Right.
I do think we're just a series of habits that somehow along the road, that habit worked for us.
Right.
It felt really, really good. We did it again. That pathway got stronger and stronger and stronger. And then we got to the point we couldn't see another pathway.
Right.
So part of my job, in fact, probably 90% of my job, is really looking at how do we find another pathway
Right.
that works for you, that has a better health outcome, that still makes you feel good, without having too much sacrifice. Now, there's always sacrifice, but not too much. So
I don't think people understand that sacrifice is not a bad thing.
good thing.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I think
Yeah.
it helps discipline the body.
Yeah.
It shows in the body
Yeah.
when you do sacrifice, not just your body, but your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it gives you the ability to resist those hard times.
Yeah.
Because if you're so used to just having whatever you want, whenever you want,
Yeah.
at some point along your journey, that's not going to happen.
and you're not happy.
And you're not. But are you going to collapse under the weight of? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do because I don't have internet. As young people, oh my God, the Wi-Fi is out. I'm stuck. I'm frozen.
Yeah. Now, I did just see you panic and leave for your phone.
Well, I do that, and it's interesting. In the old days, it'd be
Yeah.
like I don't have my beeper on me,
Right.
Because as a doctor,
Yeah.
there are certain things that I have to
Yes.
make sure I have certain amount of communication.
Yes.
It's not to necessarily access internet, but God forbid my wife says, "Hey,
Yeah.
I need to be able to access certain things." But other than that, I'm not like going to be. And even that has been a discipline thing.
Yeah.
So because it's easy to put yourself in that phone life. It's
Yeah.
the new addiction that is 100% legal.
Yeah.
But-
Look, I have an app to keep me off apps.
Oh.
I'm not kidding. I have an app that literally, if I try to go onto social media, because like you, I do have to go onto social media.
Right.
It's got a little timer.
Right.
And it takes me 1 minute to get on.
Wow.
And it's frustrating as heck. But it also means that at 9 o'clock at night, if I'm answering something and I'm on social media, it will turn me off.
Right.
So I have no issue whatsoever of my phone distracting me when I'm going to sleep.
Wow.
And I think it's a big deal. When I speak, I don't know about you, but when I speak to clients and you're speaking to patients and they're not sleeping, the first thing I ask them is that, where's your phone?
And chances are
Always
it's like
beside them.
it's between them and their partner or whatever the case may be.
They need to name it like a dog's name. Yeah. Rex was beside me. Yeah. Yeah. So.
My husband's jealous of Rex. I'm always petting Rex. He's got me in my hand. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh man. So okay. So you're somebody who's well trained. You're very knowledgeable, but you still have issues with control.
Oh yeah,
like all of
100%.
us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm aware of my boundaries. I've also always been a goal setter.
Right.
So for me, achieving a goal is really, really important. Whereas for a lot of people, it's not.
Okay.
So, and so we have to recognize that some people are driven, like me, as a more A-type personality, and some people are laid back, and those represent different challenges
Right.
when it comes to health and well-being. 100%.
Now, for people, as I was explaining to you, I'm starting to try to move into the visual part of these things. So this will be a video podcast as well as just a radio. So they'll look at you and think like, oh, she don't look like she has any problem eating. She looks thin and in shape and all that.
Yeah.
So does that just come easy to you?
No.
And, you don't have to really do anything. You just inhale air and you lose 5 pounds.
Well, that's my husband. Yeah. My husband looks at a weight and puts on a muscle. He looks at an apple pie and it says hello back to him.
But not you.
Not me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I am more inclined to. I'm a real sweet tooth. So if you had offered me chocolate this morning, I would have stared at it and obsessed about it until you offered me a piece. And then I would have had a piece and then I would have obsessed about it a little bit more. So I have weaknesses in certain nutritional areas. I hated vegetables growing up as a child. Hated them. I ate a lot and hoarded a lot as a child. I had brothers and sisters that basically just kind of dug into my plate because I was the youngest.
Right.
So I think childhood behaviors play a huge role in terms of how you eat later in life.
Right.
I eat very quickly, so I
Okay.
have to slow down my eating. So all the habits that you didn't want to have as a child, I had every single one of them.
Wow.
So, and then at university, it was very easy for me to put on weight because I discovered Kraft Dinner. I discovered ramen noodles.
I grew up on
I
Kraft
discovered
in college.
all the things.
It was so easy just to get a box of the noodles and some ground beef, and that
done.
was it. I
Yeah.
didn't have any problems.
Yep, I worked at the faculty lounge, and the only thing they served was cheese and wine. So at the end of the night, I would take home all the cheese. So I ate all the wrong things.
You left the wine.
Yeah, I did not drink during university.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
I was a bartender, and when I saw people's behavior as a bartender,
Said that's not for me.
I stopped drinking.
Right.
It was just, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, I did drink later in life. But
Right.
I don't really drink now.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an interesting time. So I think one of the things to know is that you go through changes, food-wise, behavior-wise, all through your life. I talk to women that are perimenopausal and menopausal. You ate totally different as a teenager
Right.
than you did as an adult. And now you're going to eat different again as you go through changes in life. Or as one of the girls said to me, that women in their 50s are queen-agers.
Queen-agers.
Queen,
I've
because
never
you're
heard of
queens when you get to that age.
I see.
So it's not menopause. You're a queen-ager, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. So I mean, it's I eat healthy. I choose to eat healthy. It's a work in progress.
You
eating
enjoy
healthy.
vegetables now?
I enjoy vegetables, which is insanity. Like if my mom was listening to this talk show right now, she'd be laughing because she'd be like, "My daughter is eating asparagus." You know?
What happened to my daughter?
I ate potatoes. I ate corn. I ate bread.
You would have made a nice Portuguese person.
Yes, I should have been Portuguese.
Yeah, because that's a
Absolutely.
lot of their diet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but you know.
So are you
that's-
saying those things are bad for us?
Not at all. I don't say bad.
Okay,
Don't say
I just want to
bad.
make sure
Yeah.
that we're all on the
Yes.
same page here.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I hear people using negatives about food. Sugar is bad.
Yeah.
Fat is bad.
Yes.
And I'm like, but these are naturally occurring things in the world.
Yeah.
Sugar's bad, but let's get a vaccine because that's good.
Right.
These are not
It's
the
really
same
tricky.
thing. Something's a little
Yeah.
weird. So how do you, so you're a life coach as well as a person who tries to get people to eat healthy.
Yes.
What do you define as eating healthy?
What works for the person? I mean, that's the answer.
Okay.
Because what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you.
Okay.
So I'll use a classic example. If you asked me to intermittent fast or do time-restricted eating, I would probably be in jail for assaulting somebody for food in the morning. I'm the kind of person, if you have me do a blood test in the morning, I'm like, I'll be the first person standing there because you've made me fast.
Right.
An
Let
hour
me
longer.
Do this so I can get back to my
eating my food.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas there's people that are natural fasters.
Right.
I've got a lot of clients, they don't eat till 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Is that bad? Nope. Is it different than me? 100%.
Right.
Does it work for them? Absolutely. So I think the main thing, nutritional science is the most difficult, I think, of the sciences besides psychiatry and psychology, because you can't measure exactly what's happening. I can't blindfold you and say, you don't know that you're having a piece of meat just to pretend it's not. I can't do those studies very well.
Right.
So it really is outcomes that I'm looking at with people. And the only outcomes I can measure is, are you healthier or not healthier,
Right.
based on the information I'm giving to you.
Right.
Do I think you're going to live longer, healthier if we do X? So I look at my relationship with people when I'm meeting them in 2 ways. I want a instant gratification for them. I want them to feel good
Right.
within the next 3 weeks. I really want them to start feeling better than they're feeling right now. But my ultimate goal is that if I look through the last 10 years, last 5 years of your life, I want you to be having a good time.
Right.
I don't want to have longevity, but that longevity is disabled. So if that makes sense, I mean, what we invest in now, which again is a series of habits, is going to pay off in the long run. It's just how much you're willing to sacrifice now, but still have enjoyment so that you enjoy the later years of your life.
Right.
So I've got 2 things going on in my head every single time I'm meeting with a client. What can I do for you right now to make you feel better? And what can I do for you that we're doing now that is going to serve your purpose in 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now?
Got you.
I mean, I work with clients that are 20 years old. I work with clients that are 70, 80 years old.
Okay.
They've got entirely different needs.
Right. And different goals.
Right,
because not everything that we want is what we need.
Exactly.
And yet you have to kind of figure out how to work with that.
Yeah.
So
I don't want people at their lowest weight. So when you send a referral to me, my first question is, I know why the doctor wants you to be here. Why are you here?
Is there a common theme to the answer that you get?
Yeah, the most common thing is I'm uncomfortable in how I feel, or I feel tired. So their living of life has diminished for them versus who they used to be.
Right.
Because nobody can judge against how you feel.
Right.
They're only judging about, I felt really good at this stage in my life. I want to get back to feeling there.
Can you get them back to there?
Yeah, a lot of the
you know,
times
if
you
you're
can.
dealing
Yeah.
with a 50-year-old and they're saying, when I was in my 20s, I
is
had
very young,
tons
by
of,
the
you know, I had tons of energy and
Yeah.
now I don't have that energy. So
Yeah.
I want to be like I was when I was 20.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable to think that you can get back to your 20s?
I think it's reasonable from an energy level point of view. I'm not sure it's reasonable from how you look point of view. I think people need to be realistic. Do I want to look like I was in my 20s? No,
Right.
I don't. Do I want to do what I was doing in my 20s? Absolutely not. But I want to feel really good.
Right.
I want to wake up in the morning and not have things feel heavy and tired and achy. I look at sleep apnea in a lot of people.
now you're using words.
Oh, yeah,
I always tell
sorry.
people when
I'm
you use a
using
word,
words.
you have to define what that means to people.
So if you're not sleeping well, or you wake up in the morning and you're tired, even though you slept for 8 hours, it could very well be that because of your weight and the compression in terms of your organs
neck
and your
and
neck
everything
and
like that, right?
That is stopping you from having the energy in the morning.
Right.
So most of the time, everybody does a health history form with me. So I ask them a lot of non-nutritional things because nutrition, even though my background is food science and nutrition, it's a small part of how we feel. It's a solution for a lot of people when I make very little changes. I'll tell you the number one is please drink water. Just
I don't like water.
drink some water.
I don't like the taste of water. Can I put some soda in
Yeah.
it?
So you can.
Dilute the water?
Yeah, you can. But I mean, water is so key. I see so many people that are dehydrated, and as soon as I give them a little bit of water, not a whole ton, I just gradually build them up. They start to feel better. The headaches start to go away.
Right.
The bloating starts to go away. So I think there's a cornerstones of nutritional science that are core.
Right.
You know, we have macronutrients, which are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So just a very quick primer. Protein for me is, think of it as anything that moves is always going to be a protein.
Got you.
Plus, we have proteins in plant-based things. So
In less quantity.
in less quantity,
Right.
yeah,
But still there. Right.
But still there.
Right.
And the benefit of the plant-based proteins is that generally they will also come with fiber, which helps you feel full longer.
Right.
So, you know, the proteins are important, really important, because those support your muscle and your structure. If we look at carbohydrates, which have a really bad rap right now, those are also important because your brain, you can't think
Right.
if you don't have enough carbohydrates
Right.
in you. And then the fats, which again, people are very terrified of fats. And I'm saying, please, you know, the fats have to be in there. Otherwise, your hormones are going to be all over the place. So men, you want to have testosterone. Women, you want to have estrogen and progesterone. We want our thyroid functioning. All the different hormones that make us who we are there because of cholesterol and fat.
And I usually will liken that. I'll say, listen, I think of it as like a car.
Yeah.
So the structure of the car
Yes.
is your protein.
Yes.
So you need a good, strong, structured car. Otherwise, it will crumple under the first little wind.
Yeah.
The carbohydrates is the gas.
Yeah.
It's the thing that gives you the energy to move from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And then the fat is the luxury.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the leather seats.
Yeah.
It's the fancy steering wheel. It's
Yeah.
the AI built in, all that little extra. Too much of any of that is not good. If you
Yeah.
have too firm a structure,
Yeah.
it's too heavy. It
Yes.
can't move.
Yeah.
If you have gas that's not in the right proportion, it sputters or it stops or it has an explosive
Yeah.
capability. And all the luxury in the world sometimes has a high price.
Exactly.
And it doesn't really,
Yeah.
it's not really worth it. So you
Yeah.
have to find the right balance.
Yes.
And most people have a hard time with balance.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you know.
Balance
They go
isn't
with how they
fun.
feel.
Yeah, balance can be difficult to have fun with, right?
Yeah.
So, but you do want to. I mean, I'm never 100% on person. Just like I like to exercise,
Right.
But it's really, in fact, I just sent a message. So if this client is listening this morning, I shall not say your name. But he did the marathon. He did really well running the marathon.
Was that last
was-
week or
yeah.
something like that?
Last
Tells
weekend.
you how much I keep in touch
Yeah.
with these
You
things.
just saw the roads blocked,
I was
right?
like,
Wonder why
oh
the
Lord, I
roads
got to
blocked.
go the long way.
Yeah, and he said, "Please, can I go for a run today?" And my attitude on that is that the rest is as important as the recovery.
Right, correct.
So I'm always looking at, you know, you can diet too hard, you can be too restrictive. It may serve you in the short term, but if you don't want to be injured and if you want that chassis and the engine and everything to be running 40, 50 years later from now,
Right.
we need to invest now.
Right.
But we don't need to be 100% on all the time.
Right, correct.
My philosophy is that 80% of the time, try and follow what I'm telling you. 20% of the time, color outside of the lines. Have a little bit of fun.
I think a lot of times when I'm seeing patients, and especially if they bring up things like weight, because usually this revolves around them at some point saying either I'm telling them based upon their BMI, their body mass index,
Which I
which is
hate.
their weight versus their height, or whatever. It's a matter of you have an issue with your weight. And for most people, weight for them has very different connotations.
Yeah.
So, when I'm thinking, especially if they say, well, I think I should lose some weight, my first thing is why?
Why?
Because some people want to lose weight to fit in the dress for the summer.
Yeah.
Some people want to, lose the weight because they get short of breath when they're walking 5 miles. Some people want to physically look in the mirror if they own one.
Yes.
And be able to like what they see.
Yeah.
Because they compare that image to either their brain's image, what they think they should look like,
Yeah.
or what they used to look like, or whatever the case. We have a whole community of people who say you should have a particular body image.
Yes.
Now, I think to a certain extent, somewhere in the middle there,
Yeah.
there's reality.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand it when, especially those my black people have the statement, well, we're big boned, so I shouldn't be as thin as you say I should
Right.
be or whatever. And I explain
Yeah.
to people a lot of times that when I'm talking about weight or BMI,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the scientific range that we say what is the best optimum way of keeping you either from developing illness or reversing illness. It's not about image. Because there are certain people that can be within a certain range
Yeah.
and yet have a certain disease.
100%.
So, I don't think of it when I'm talking about you need to think about pulling this back
Yeah.
because of my concern about disease.
Yes.
Not about fitting into a
Yes.
certain thing.
Yeah.
So when people come to you, how do you start to broach change? Because
Yeah.
once again, this is about
Yeah.
not where you are, but where you should be
Right.
or you want to be, which
Yeah.
sometimes is the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I'll go back to the weight number, what I call the bathroom scale weight number, that number, whatever it is, 160, 250, 400, whatever that number is,
right.
is kind of meaningless. Like it's terrible to say.
I don't know if
but-
you're 500,
I know.
if you're 500
Yeah,
pounds.
but it's all relative. Is that that's your number,
Right.
But that number can be entirely different health wise, to a certain degree.
Correct,
You're right.
correct.
The BMI is the same for me. Like when people first come and see me, that's the two numbers they're fixated
Right.
on, and then I try and encourage them to slowly move away from those numbers. Quite frankly, if our scale could just say you weigh this in fat and you weigh this in muscle, and those are your two numbers, I'd be thrilled. Because ultimately, I'm always trying to drive the muscle number higher, and
And
I'm
the
trying
fat
to,
lower.
or maintain it. Sometimes I just want to maintain it. I just want to put more muscle on you.
Right.
So the engine is burning better.
Right.
But when people first come to me after I've asked that initial question of the why, and sometimes I get the truth, as you know, a lot of people don't want to tell you the truth because it's uncomfortable
Right.
to share that with somebody. Then I usually, and I'll ask you this question, if we looked at you right now versus a year ago, is your health the same, better, or worse?
A year ago, probably a little worse, I would say, for me.
Okay.
Only because my journey a year ago was starting on carnivore, and I was getting that ketones, brain burning thing. I was,
He was on
sleeping
fire.
efficiency.
Yeah.
I was like raw energy, popping into the office an hour early. Nowadays, it's like it's cold.
Right.
Do I really have to get out of bed now? I'm going to have a
Yeah.
little bit, French fries,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but once again, I know what to do.
Right.
Like you said, sometimes knowing is different than doing.
Absolutely. So that's the first question, same, better, worse. And you just gave me a lot of really good information in that very short sentence. One,
As to why I'm not coming
As to
getting in
why
that
you're
scale.
I've been inviting a certain doctor whose name I shall not mention to come and visit me just to say hello. And usually the question is not answered, but another question is asked. Yes.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll see you next week.
There you go.
Yeah. So you answered a couple different things that were really interesting. So I'll recap in that. You talked about what you did that worked for you
Right.
when you felt good, but maybe that wasn't sustainable for you.
Right.
Right. So that's number one. So I listen to that and think, okay, that worked. So maybe if we have a modification of that as we move forward, that's going to work for you.
Right.
We just need to find the happy medium in there. The second one is that you talked about, because the weather's cold right now, and it changes what we want to eat. And we got to run with that.
Right.
So we need to be realistic that certain times of the year, you're going to drink less water. You're going to want more high carbohydrate foods. I want the breads. I want the pastas. I want the potatoes.
Soups.
I want the soup. Oh my gosh.
Pumpkin soup. Oh, I love me
Had I
some
known
pumpkin
that,
soup.
I would have brought you some. I'm a massive soup fan. I love my crock pot. That's all I can say. So, yeah, certain times of the year are going to change. So in answer to your question, what people want and what people need, I try to marry together.
To do two together.
And it's impossible for me to answer what's the right answer for everybody because there's not.
Right, exactly.
I need to know you as a person. I need to know what your weaknesses are.
Right.
So I need to honestly know what's happening in your relationships. What's happening with your sleep? Are you moving? I'm not talking exercise.
Right, going to the
Are
gym,
you
pumping
moving?
iron, but are you physically
Yeah.
getting around and getting up?
Are you resting?
Right.
How stressed are you at work? I need to know all of those things because every single one of those impacts your nutritional choices.
Right.
So if I'm stressed, I reach for two things: salt, usually potato chips, and sugar. Those are my two things. Other people go for meat and potatoes. Like
Right.
it is crazy for me to listen to what everybody's desire is, and some people don't eat
Right.
when they're stressed. So knowing those, we just try to sit there and go, okay, so if it's me and I want salty things, then maybe popcorn's a better choice for me
Than
than
potato
going and have
chips.
potato chips.
Got you.
And I'm quite satisfied by that.
Got you.
It's just my husband hasn't made any popcorn recently.
But that's an interesting thing when you said
Yeah.
that, because, you know, a lot of times the thing that works for me is I have to be honest with myself. If I have it, a lot of times I'll eat it.
Yes.
So a good thing for me is I don't keep it in the house.
Yes.
So I don't have regular soda in the house. I've had diet soda, but even that I've gotten away from.
Right.
Because I just...
Yeah.
It doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
You know, the chips and stuff. I've had chips in my house because of Christmas when
Right.
everybody was over the house, and I'm too cheap to throw the things away. So I'm like, you know what? Just take the hit, eat the things, and get them out of the house, and then don't bring them back again.
Yeah.
So these are my, oh, God forbid, cassava. I still have cassava.
It
I was like,
freezes really well.
but you know what? I was looking at it the other day. It's like, this has been in my fridge,
that's
freezer
not good.
for a long time. I should throw it away. But let me taste it first.
Yeah.
This tastes good still. I'm not going to throw it away. But these are the things that plague us all.
Yes.
I mean, we're all prone to wanting,
Yes.
desiring,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes what we desire in small amounts, like
Yeah.
you said, is good.
Yes.
And in big amounts is not so good.
Yeah.
Can you answer though for me? Because people always say, well, why is it that they can eat whatever they want and not gain a pound, and
Yeah.
I can inhale some
can
smell and
it,
gain
right?
a pound or two?
Yeah.
Why are people so
Yeah.
different when it comes to gaining weight?
Gosh, if I had the answer to that, I'd be really, really, really smart.
Right, right.
And I'm not.
Got you, got you.
There's no answer for that.
Right.
Genetics, yes, play a
Right.
role. Environment plays a huge role. So if I look at my family, I am by far the smallest person in my family.
Okay.
Okay.
As in thin.
As in thin.
Right.
By far.
Okay.
And most of my family, my brother won't mind me saying this. He lives in New Zealand. I'm coaching him right now.
Okay.
Because he put on 50 pounds.
Okay.
In space of a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So I come from a family that has a wonderful ability to put on weight.
Gotcha.
And I know that I can as well. So what it is, again, we go back to habits. I mean, I'm going to keep coming back to that.
Right.
But it's trying to figure out if I can change something small for you, but also make you uncomfortable. You're going to learn from that and find some satisfaction in it.
Right.
So I'll give an example. So I worked with a client last week, and she's really unhappy at her job. And I said, well, what are your choices? Well, I quit. I don't have another job to go through, or I stick it out and I get unhappier.
Right.
So those aren't great choices, and those are realistic choices in Bermuda right now. I mean, I've got a lot of unhappy people at work, a lot of people that are now transitioning to go back to the office. This seems to be the year of let's get everybody back in the
Trump
office.
said, go back or get fired.
yeah.
One or the other.
I think I would have taken, what was it, $80,000?
They gave him a package. It's like it's cheaper to just pay you off.
Right, yeah.
But it depends on how good you are with money.
Yeah,
$80,000
goes
in
very quick.
Bermuda.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Exactly. So I go back to the person that's unhappy at work. So then we need to have a plan.
Right.
And the plan might just be, why don't we just put a resume together for you?
Right.
So am I a resume making person? No. I'm trained as a food scientist and behavioral change scientist. But if I can get somebody to take step on something and they realize they can take that step, even though it's uncomfortable to sit down on the Saturday and clean up my resume and get it together, and maybe it's going to go nowhere,
Right.
It's still a step that goes in the right direction that actually makes a difference, weirdly, in their food choice.
Well, see, you brought up an interesting combination, because our show has always been about balance.
Yes.
So here we are. I'm going to a nutritionist
Right.
or a health coach,
Yeah.
and I'm writing a resume for my job. They don't seem like they match.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've always said plays an important part about food, which is a big no when it comes to some of the quick fixes, is it doesn't deal with the psychology
Yes.
of why people eat the way they do.
Yeah.
I'm depressed, I eat this. I'm happy, I eat that.
Yeah.
I'm just bored, I eat
Yeah.
this. All these things affect. It's not always just about the food. The food is
Right.
not the evil entity.
No.
It's how you interact with food that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. And a lot of us, one of the keys that I always think is interesting, which is always a thing for me, like, let me send them to Myra. Myra,
Right.
is, well, what you can do, like, I'm willing to do something to lose weight, but I'm not going to give up this.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Tell you what, because once you tell me if you start
Right.
off with, I'm not going to do,
Yes.
you've already moved out of my wheelhouse.
Right.
Because I work with people who are 100% in and are willing to feel the suffering and
Yeah.
the pain
Yeah.
of sacrifice.
Yeah.
If you're not there yet, I need somebody who's going to be able to turn that cruise ship slowly versus
Yeah.
that speedboat fast.
Yeah.
That's where I
Yeah.
punt them
Yeah.
over to
Yeah.
you real quick.
I sense that. But I really do enjoy that, because I do think that a lot of the times when people say I'm not going to give up this, they're pushing their boundaries to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I need to push back and say, what are your boundaries
Right.
serving you?
Right.
How is it serving you? The best question that you can ask yourself, if I'm reaching for something that I know I ought not to be eating or doing or saying or whatever it is, in the back of my mind is the question is, how does this serve me?
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe it serves me at that particular point in time to bring me a little bit of pleasure that I haven't had all day.
Right.
Then if I'm going to go down that road, then please enjoy the pleasure as you're doing it.
Right, correct.
So and then just put it behind you and let's start again.
Wow, okay.
So usually I used to have people keep a lot of detailed food journals. I don't
Okay.
anymore. I've really changed my mind on that. I do have people send me food photos.
Right.
So food photos give me a very good idea on portion sizes. Is that right for you?
Right.
It gives me an idea in terms of whether or not I'm getting the base nutrients in properly. Is there enough protein in there? Is there enough carbohydrate in there? Is there enough fat on your plate? But it also gives me an idea of what brings you pleasure.
I haven't heard you mention calories.
Oh, I don't talk calories.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people, even in my world of medicine,
Right.
we talk calories all the
Yeah.
time, and yet you
Yeah.
talk macronutrients.
Yeah.
Why do you veer that way instead of the other way?
Yeah, I'll talk calories for people that are very focused in that way and that they understand. I mean, calories is a measure of heat,
Right.
So a calorie, I can have 500 calories in a bag of potato chips, or I can have 500 calories in spinach. They're going to give me two entirely different outcomes to your body.
Gotcha.
So a calorie to me is actually quite useless. So if somebody says, Myra, should I be on 1,200 calories or 1,400 calories? I try to steer people away from that. But if that's the way they think,
Right.
I work with you in that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just don't find for outcomes, are you really going to count the calories for the rest of your life? I don't think you are.
Right.
Maybe some people
Some
are.
people do that,
And
right.
we'll go down that road for you.
Right.
Some people keep track of their kilometers in their car and the amount they pay on gas. I don't even know what the price of gas is. I just
Right.
know my car gets me from A to B.
Gotcha.
So it's a different, but generally speaking, you're right. I stopped doing calorie counting and I really stopped doing detailed food journaling unless I find that the person needs to focus on their truth.
Right.
So a lot of the times I will say, let's walk through
Right.
me through what happened this last week. That's always my first question. They walk me through. And then generally I'll say, let's do it with you yesterday. Can we do a yesterday recall with you?
I was trying to think about that because I was
Like
even
she's
trying to
gonna
think,
ask me
what
what
did
the
I
recall-
eat last night? I was trying to
Right.
think to myself.
Yeah.
And I still can't remember,
Yeah.
which is a little scary, actually.
But it's not. That's most people. And that if you're giving me that answer and you're not getting to your goal,
Right.
then I would most likely ask you to start recording.
Right.
Because there could be just kind of subconscious eating in there.
Right.
And then you realize that, wow, 40% of my intake for the day I had no idea I was actually eating.
And actually now it just came to life as we were talking. So I treated myself. So Fridays I used to kind of do paperwork and
Right.
house chores and stuff. And yesterday, because I don't have my wife with me, I was like, I don't feel like being home by myself.
Yeah.
So I went and treated myself to Indian food. So I went down to the
Good call.
Indian stuff
Yeah.
and had, the buffet. I had a salad and a
Right.
plate.
Right.
There was the days I could do 2, 3, 4 plates, but I had a plate of food.
Yeah.
And then I did some home visits with some patients.
Yeah.
And then I remember coming home. It's amazing how these things just click in.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I going to eat tonight? I was like, I really don't have to eat. And I looked in the fridge and I had a quiche that I had bought last week. And I was tempted to throw that out too because it's like,
Right.
it's looking a little. And I said, before I throw it out, and I was like, just taste it. And it was just a small little thing and
Yeah.
half of it was there. So I ate my quiche.
Right.
And I had some water with some apple cider vinegar in it,
Yeah.
and that was my dinner.
Got it.
And then I watched some TV, and I
Yeah.
don't remember at what point.
fell
All I
asleep.
remember
Yeah.
is I went to bed, I put the heater on for 2 hours, I put the TV on for an hour and a
Yeah.
half, and that's all I remember till this morning.
Yeah. So again, if you were my client, I listened to what you said. You said you wanted to treat yourself. So a lot of times we treat ourselves with food, which is good because I think food is for pleasure and it's for fuel.
And culturally wise, I think every culture is revolving around some kind of interaction with food.
Yeah. Almost every culture has bread as well. I didn't know that. I researched. I was like, every culture has bread. How cool is that? But it was for breaking bread with friends, right?
And thou shalt not live by bread alone.
Yes, there you go. So when we look at what you chose to treat yourself. Fantastic, because I think that's important.
Right.
And then when you got home, you didn't choose to treat yourself again.
Right.
You actually chose something that was more fuel-y.
Right.
And then you questioned yourself, should I have this? Should I do this?
Right.
So there was a process in there. That's fantastic. Many people would have done the opposite, and they said, I had an argument with my boss.
Right.
So I went and grabbed a bag of potato chips.
Right.
That's not bringing you pleasure.
Right.
If you're going to have a treat, it should bring you pleasure.
Right.
So that's the main thing that I try and flip the switch on.
Right.
Is let's make pleasure pleasure.
And I like the idea of when you say it should bring you pleasure, it should bring you pleasure on a continuum. So because sometimes things feel good right at the moment, and then an hour and a half later you regret ever eating it. So now you're feeling depressed and feeling guilty about something that you did. So, it's like you have to think the now and the later. So you don't wake up in the morning and think, who the heck is this?
That, right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not drinking that alcohol again.
Exactly. And that, it's alcohol is a really funny one because let's talk dry January, right? We're on February the 1st.
Dry January. What is that?
So dry January is the people that normally drink in January, like alcohol, decide that for the month of January, they're not going to touch any alcohol at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
is that a hard thing to do?
It's really hard for a lot of people. And it's really difficult in Bermuda because we do have a drinking culture.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of corporates that I deal with, different reinsurance companies I see on a regular basis. And one of the first talks when people ask me, could you give a talk to the company? I talk about how to eat when you're out. If you're entertaining clients all the time, which can be stressful.
Okay.
And what do we do when we're stressed? We make difficult choices.
Right.
So if people have social anxiety, they'll tend to drink all the time, or they'll tend to eat more. They want to do something with their hands. So I have a whole protocol that I basically teach to people how to manage social drinking.
It's interesting because I do corporate speaking as well, and trying to get the big bosses to understand that you should not necessarily revolve everything around alcohol is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's something that they have to really wrap their minds around and say, can we do that?
Yeah. I did put a challenge out that's been accepted. I won't mention the company, but to one of the reinsurance companies, I said, people do dry Januaries. Why don't we choose a month during the year that you do a dry company?
Right.
So for reinsurance companies, it's their brokers and the different sales kind of people that are doing a lot of the entertaining. I said, what if you didn't spend any money on alcohol, but you took the money that you would have spent on your budget and donate it to a charity.
Right.
So one of them has taken them up on that, which I think is super cool.
Right.
Because you're going to get pleasure from giving that you would have maybe gotten the pleasure or not from the social drinking.
Right.
The drinking culture, and we talked a little bit about the cost of food in Bermuda. I bet you a whole bunch of people saved a whole lot of money this month by not buying alcohol.
And it's strange to me because I've never really been a drinker. I think I had a glass of wine last year.
Right.
That kind of stuff. It's like, it just never impressed me. And like yourself, I've seen the negatives because I went to Canada for school for a while and I saw so many people who kissed the toilets.
My bartender years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible. And I was like, why would anyone do this? And they would, wake up regretting it until the following weekend.
Exactly.
And then they did the exact same thing.
It's amazing how we don't remember, right?
Yeah.
You touched upon something that I love talking about, which is identity. So when we talk about habits, we also talk about identity. So we don't talk about health and food identities, which I think we should.
Right. What does that mean to you? Because I want to get an understanding what words mean.
So let me ask you a question. So if I asked you right now, can I offer you a cigarette? What would you say?
I don't smoke.
Right. So your identity is a non-smoker. It's very clear. Like you wrinkled your nose, you shook your head away.
The face
completely changes. There was your arms are crossed. There was an absolute identity that you are not a smoker.
Right.
So if I ask you, are you a healthy person?
I'm going to keep my face completely blank
You
now.
didn't.
No.
I just saw your tell. Now I know what your tell is. Yes.
I could be healthier.
So you have not identified.
No, I
yet
haven't identified yet
as a healthy person.
As a healthy person.
Yeah.
Correct.
Are you an athlete?
No.
No. So again, I saw the same faces with smoker face. So you can start to kind of ask yourself your identities as far as health goes.
Right.
And they become quite clear to you. So some people identify as a dieter.
Right.
That's not really an identity that I want people to have.
Right, correct.
Because that's a process.
Right. And it's a punishment
And it's
to
a
people.
punishment.
When they think
Yeah.
diet, they think
Yeah.
punishment.
Yeah.
What do I have to sacrifice and give up versus how do I just change?
Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, I don't talk about New Year's resolutions, but I do talk about identity. So if you came into my office this previous month in January,
Right.
I would have asked you. You did not come into my office, by the way. But if you had come into my office, I would have said to you, when we think of something in a health spectrum for you, as who you are.
Threw me under the bus. Just went down under the bus there.
I miss not being invited on this show. So if I asked you to form an identity related to you and being a better person health-wise, if I asked you to fill in the blank, 2025, I am, and I want you to fill in the blank.
Out of debt.
Okay. All right. From a health point of view, that can be related to health.
Right. No,
Yep.
no. I am dedicating myself to eating more whole foods.
Whole foods.
Right.
Okay. So you're dedicating yourself. So then once I have your identity, I would ask you to write that down somewhere.
Right. Make it concrete.
Make it concrete.
Right.
And then every morning, I ask you to do one thing. What would that person do?
Right.
Who has that identity? So if I'm a person who wants to be eating more whole foods, what do I do today?
Right.
Because that starts your brain to go down that process of merging your identity to a habit.
Right.
Because
to the
it's-
reality
to the
of what you need to
reality-
do to become that person.
Right. So if you say, well, I don't know what I do. Okay, well, then let's start with your first meal of the day. I didn't say breakfast. I said the first meal
Right.
of the
Because
day.
I don't eat breakfast.
Right.
I used to.
Yeah.
And I was a big proponent, how my teaching in school was everybody has to eat breakfast.
Right.
And then, the reality of history was that breakfast was more of a creation of corporate people selling
Or
breakfast
farmers.
food. Right.
Yeah.
Farmers would eat very light
Yeah.
and then get out in the field. They
Yeah.
weren't having
And
a
have a
big
huge
breakfast.
lunch. Yeah.
Now, I love breakfast food,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily have to eat it. And I've disciplined myself now that, I might have a black coffee or a coffee with cream.
Right.
And then that's it until I go home in the afternoon at
Yeah.
4 or 5 o'clock, and then I'll eat. So
Yeah.
that's almost intermittent fasting
Yeah.
without thinking of it
Right.
like that. That's just the way that
That's
I
just
do
the way
it.
you are.
Right.
So if you were going to be a person that ate more whole foods this year, then let's start with your first meal. How do we sneak more whole foods into it? What whole foods do you like?
So, greens wise, I love spinach. I love
Right.
broccoli. I don't always like buying it, fresh and steaming it. So sometimes I'll cheat and just get the bags, but,
Yeah.
so be it.
Yeah.
And then I will have a steak.
Yeah.
I'm a big red meat eater, so
Yeah.
I tend to stick with that.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to cook fish better, so I'll eat more of that. I need to do that. That's actually something I need to put on my
So
list.
why do you need to do that?
Because of the omega-3 fatty acids. I
Okay.
need those. And
Okay.
I'm not going to get it from my steak.
Yeah.
Chicken I can take or leave. It's fine. But
Yeah.
I need to eat more
Yeah.
more fish.
Yeah.
And I'll be quite happy having a big thing of spinach and whatever
Yeah.
meat. And that's
Yeah.
enough.
So if you were seeing me, but then I've just heard what you said, and I would basically say, okay, then once this week, try to cook me some fish.
Right.
Send me a photo of it when
Right.
you're done.
Right.
So now I'm making you accountable
Right.
to the process. And once you do it once, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Right. You get used to doing
Yeah.
it. Right.
Or if it was really bad, usually I don't get the photo. And they're like, what happened to the fish?
WhatsApp silence.
But yeah, I mean, the process is pretty much the same for everybody, is that
Right.
the identity is actually quite important.
Right.
So, and the identity changes through the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to start the year. If your identity is going to be, I'm going to eat more whole foods, and now I know what to hold you accountable to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you can't do this alone. I mean, there's very few people
You
that
have to
can
have
get
people
healthier.
who walk alongside of you.
It takes a community
To do everything. It
Yeah.
does everything.
Yeah.
And now and I'm getting ready to move to my next guest, but I wanted to make sure we touched on one of the things that kind of prodded you to say, I need to come back on and talk to people because I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I had a person call and talk about how expensive food was.
Yeah.
And, because of the cost of real whole foods,
Right.
sometimes they were getting priced out of eating good food for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is your answer to that?
Yeah, Bermuda's tough. I'm not going to lie on that side of it. When people come to see me, a lot of them are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, single moms. I do go through a base list.
Right.
I mean, and some people are going to like the food, some people are not.
Right.
But I do look at time and money
Right.
as 2 things.
Right.
So if I look at the basic foods, I'm looking at inexpensive foods or less expensive because they're not inexpensive in
Right.
Bermuda. I look at oats. I look at the beans and legumes because if I can make a black bean chili pretty inexpensively for a family of 4.
Right.
No problem. And
Gotcha.
that's going to give me all the nutrients I need in a meal. So, 2 cans of black beans, a can of tomatoes, I throw some corn in there, I'll put some chicken stock or whatever I've got into it, let that all brew together and then throw in whatever leftover vegetables I might have in the house and
Right.
I've got a meal.
Wow.
So it's inexpensive. I look at oats for breakfast, not an expensive food, but it goes a long way.
Right.
Eggs for sure. I batch cook things, rice. So if I'm looking at whole grain rice, I can batch. It takes me the same amount of time to cook 1 serving of rice as it does 9 servings of rice.
Right.
And I'll just freeze the rest of it.
Got you.
So I look at time to save money as well. So and on the flip side of it, if I've got somebody that's super busy and you're making X amount of dollars per hour, does it make sense for me to take an hour and a half away from your time?
Right.
Or is it cheaper for you to get something delivered rather than you go to the grocery store? Because
Right.
oftentimes the delivery service might be cheaper for you if it means that you're getting paid
Right.
to work an hour or you get to rest and not go out there. It is you got to weigh the pros and cons out of there. I'll find that chicken thighs will be cheaper than you going and getting chicken nuggets. So there's a lot of, when people see me, I have a list if they're interested that are kind of the top 10 things in Bermuda that you can shop for.
Okay.
But definitely oats, eggs, beans, lentils, rice, sweet potatoes when they're in season.
Right.
So I look at our local farmers. We've got a great local farming community. I wish they delivered to us that we don't have to drive out to them, but that's time.
Got to take some time.
Got to take some time for something. I just sort of go through those options for them. But I'm also a realist, is that when somebody shows me what they're eating and what the food cost is, I'm like, do you really need to buy your coffee?
Right.
That's
Yeah, because people
$7.
spend horrible large sums of money on things like, I call them milkshakes, because a lot of
Right.
times these coffees
Yeah.
are not really coffee. But,
Yeah.
these sweet drinks in the
Yeah.
beginning of the day, and they'll spend $5 or $6 on
Yeah.
coffee,
Yeah.
but they'll complain about, a $5 tomato or
Yes.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I can understand where sometimes our thought process about what should cost what
Right.
is skewed a little
Yes.
bit, and we have to be more realistic in terms of that.
And eating seasonably is important.
Right.
So seasonal, when things are in season, they're going to be cheaper. Otherwise, I'm like, go ahead and buy the frozen vegetables.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with the frozen vegetables. I love soups.
Right.
Frozen vegetables taste no different in a soup.
In a soup
than
than
a
it
fresh
does.
vegetable does.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got
So,
you. So if somebody wanted to have more of a dialogue with you professionally, because you said you deal with individuals,
Yeah.
you do talks with corporations,
Yeah.
and I'm sure just regular mom pop stores.
Right.
How do they get in touch with you?
They can WhatsApp me. I give my WhatsApp number to
Wow.
every. I know, isn't that scary?
Wow.
know.
Okay. So give your contact details
Yeah, it's
for me, please.
335-3784.
Okay.
The business is eFit.
eFit.
So
Okay.
think about eating fit.
Right.
So it's eFit BDA, like Warren
Bermuda,
Brothers,
right.
at gmail.com.
Okay.
So they can reach me there.
efitbda@gmail.com.
Yeah. I am on Instagram. I am terrible at Instagram.
Definitely.
But it is the little @ sign, eFit441.
Okay.
So they can reach me there.
441.
Yeah.
Like Bermuda area
Like
code.
Bermuda
Okay.
area code.
Okay.
So they can reach me there. I don't tend to respond on Instagram because
Right.
I'm really bad at it. But I will.
I didn't even know
post-
people could respond.
I know.
My kids told me that.
Well, I learned last night. I was like, so if I wanted to message somebody, where do I go?
Right.
And I had somebody walk me through on the phone with it. So
I feel so old.
yeah, so they can reach me through that. If they need to reach you, then fine, reach me
Right.
through that.
Because your services are covered by insurance
Yeah,
to
so-
a certain,
to a
I guess,
degree.
certain
Yeah,
insurances.
Absolutely. It's really, I'm very happy. I don't know what's going to happen with the merger, but Argus and BF&M, on most plans, Argus now has some plan that they don't cover me on, which
Right.
is new to me. But Argus and BFN tended to cover 100% of visits up to, I think, 25 visits in a year. So somebody could see me every 2 weeks. We don't charge to the person. I'm Allied Health, so we can go either way. So Colonial, GHI, HIP, and Future Care, people pay out of pocket, and then they claim back.
They get reimbursed.
They get reimbursed back.
Ah, okay, that's interesting.
So that one's different.
Got you.
And that's only because they took so long to pay. I was like, I can't run a business like this. So, I don't know how you do it, but
I'm going to keep my mouth quiet for now. Yeah, that's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard. But I appreciate your passion.
Yeah. I love what I
think
do.
people can hear
Yeah.
that you're really invested in this,
Yeah.
and hopefully they'll be able to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, you need somebody to walk alongside of
Yeah.
you. So if you
Yeah.
have somebody who actually knows what they're doing, they're not getting everything off of Instagram
Yeah.
or Google or whatever,
Yeah.
who's actually lived it.
Yeah.
Then maybe this time around, because sometimes it's like smoking.
Yeah.
You have to try, and then if you
Yeah.
messed up, you try again until
Yeah.
eventually you get it.
yeah.
But you should be able to get it eventually. It's
Yeah.
never a good thing to stop and give up.
It's a journey, and I tell that to people is that I'd love to walk the journey with them. I really do. The best thing that I can see is that I've been doing this for a while, and I pass people that I worked with 10 years ago that look amazing. They feel amazing. They stop me on the street and say,
"Hey, guess what? I did
or they
it."
say, "Look, I look exactly the same." And then I have the opposite. People that come back 10 years later and they're like, "I need to see you now." No, I love what I do. I think I got the best job in the world. So
Right.
thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for coming, and we're going to definitely have to have you back. That's for sure.
All right.
We've been talking with Miss Myra Dill of eFit. Please feel free to reach out to her. efitbda@gmail.com or that phone number again.
335-3784.
And you do it more as a WhatsApp, because all Bermudians have WhatsApp nowadays.
Don't call me.
Yeah.
I never answer the phone.
Yeah. So you got to
do it on
WhatsApp her.
Yeah,
So
WhatsApp me. Yeah.
All right, guys, we will be back momentarily with my second guest. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Medical Radio on Magic 102.7.
Magic 102.7.
And we are back. It is 9:10 on a beautiful Saturday, the first Saturday of February, guys. So anybody who happened to have an issue with, I tried January to do that weight loss or whatever the case may be, or that diet. We've just been talking about this. It's a journey. It's not a reset the clock every January. Some people have to reset the clock every day or every week just to try to encourage themselves to keep at it. It's never too late. It's never too late. I was, let me just give you a quick little story, and we're going to move on to the next thing. But there were two families one time that had two sons that were supposed to take over a company. And family number one had a son who basically the company ran itself. They had all the different people involved who would deal with the money, deal with the hiring and the firing. And that son was just, going upstairs dressed up in his nice suit, feeling important, big office, made a good salary. And he was the face. He was the CEO. He was the name brand. And everybody said, wow, look at him and look at his company. Isn't that a fantastic company? And the other son and the other family, he started out at the bottom. He worked in the mailroom. He interacted with all the different people that worked at the different levels. His family wanted to make sure that he understood all the complexities of that company. And he wanted to also make sure that he understood the people who worked in that company. So there was, whether they were the janitor, whether they were the accountant, that son knew every aspect of that company. And both companies did very well until times got hard. And when times got hard, the money stopped flowing in. And when the money stopped flowing in, son number one had no clue what to do because he didn't know how to run his company. The company was basically being run by the employees, and the employees who were now like, what are we going to do now? Looked to him, and he had no answer because he was a face. He was a figurehead. He wasn't truly running. He wasn't truly in charge. And in the end, that company went bust because the person who had been put in charge didn't know how to be a good leader. But the second son, he rallied all the employees together. He said, listen, guys, times are getting tough and we need to be able to just buckle down through this tough time. I'm going to ask you all to sacrifice. I'm going to ask you all to pull back a little bit in terms of how much you're getting paid and maybe do a little bit more in terms of work. And I'm going to be right there with you. And his employees respected him enough to not judge him to say he's trying to use us, because they knew that when he did well, they did well, and he was working truly for them. And they buckled down and they made it through the hard times. Guys, that's our young men in this world nowadays. They are not stepping up to be leaders. They are stepping into shoes where they just think all they have to do is be there instead of actually doing the hard work of a leader in the families. There are so many young men out there who don't have a clue because they're given everything. They're giving access to sex by somebody who they have no commitment to. They're having access to children that they don't see what is truly involved in raising their children. And you know what? Some of that is not the fault of that young man because he was not made to understand what was involved in being a true leader in a family. Stepping up and taking it and taking a hit, because that way when the family had to go through tough times, he was there. He didn't bail because it was hard. So I'm going to encourage you all. You need to take your young men by the hands, whether you're the parents of them who have to say, you know what, I'm not going to allow you to get away with just having fun. I'm not going to allow you to get away with just trying to make money. You have to be involved in every aspect of your growth within the company, within the dynamics of your family. But I'm also going to ask you young ladies out there who are really hurting for that man who's going to step up and be that partner in the challenge of life. Don't give away your most prized possessions to somebody who is not invested in the long-term healthy growth of you as a family. Please don't do that. I know sometimes it seems like, okay, I've gotten to this age and I still haven't found anybody. But then what happens a lot of times is anybody will do. And that is not going to make you whole, but it's also not going to make your family whole. It's not going to make your community whole. We as a country are failing our young people because we are not stepping in and saying we are going to walk alongside of you and be a testimony to how we want our families to work. Because when we all work together, guys, it works through hard times and prosperity times. So that's my little thing for today. Now, my second guest is, it's a ghost to me almost, because I knew this person many, many years ago when I first came back in the day when your doctors, we could act like real doctors and go in the hospital and help take care of our patients. We had other people in that hospital that walked alongside of us to try to assist us, not only in helping patients get well, but making sure they had a good transition through the system. And some of those people are called social workers. Now, this social worker, I worked with her so that when I had a patient getting admitted, I knew my patients. That's one of the benefits of having your doctor involved in your care in the hospital, because they know that, you're living on your own, or you might have no access to certain systems and certain situations that you're going to need help with. And it's not until the day of discharge before we kind of help you there. We need to make sure that we have everything in place. When it's time to go, everything is going to work smoothly. And so that's what the social workers were there for at the time. I don't always know. And this is no pushing or pointing to any one particular social worker nowadays. I don't even know if that system is working the way that it did before. So I want to welcome Miss Colleen English de Grilla. Did I get it right?
Yes.
I got it right. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Lang. What an amazing introduction.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
You are?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I remember you when I was in the hospital, but of course we aren't in the hospital anymore, but you aren't in the hospital anymore.
I'm not.
You decided to move on to a different aspect of helping people.
I did.
So why don't you give me an idea of what you do now?
So 8 years ago, I joined PALS as the executive director.
Okay.
And
What's PALS? So
PALS,
people don't know.
Well, it stands for Patient Assistance League Services, but it is a cancer care charity.
Okay.
We're celebrating our 45th year this year.
Okay.
It's an amazing charity. It's just such a feel-good charity, and I know a lot of people say, "Oh, how can you do that?"
Yeah, how can you feel good with cancer patients?
I know, but well, you get positives too.
Right.
There's always positives. So I'm there now. I'm not actually a social worker there, but I still
run
like to
the
see
system.
And
Okay.
I still have to have patients come in my office and talk to me because I love it.
Okay.
I do. I miss that part of it. So yeah, it's great.
That's always something that I find is a double-edged sword, because some of your best workers get moved out into the administrative field, and in healthcare, sometimes having your hands involved in that patient one-on-one keeps you grounded.
Absolutely.
And when you up on the 5th floor, as I always talk about the hospital, you lose touch of what you're there for sometimes.
Yeah.
But in PALS, you still get to have your hands somewhat involved in the day-to-day patient interaction.
That's what I love about it. That patients know me. Patients come in and they just walk in my office, and they're not a number to me. They
Gotcha.
just, I love that part. And I've had patients say, walking into PALS, just walking in the door, it's like a hug. I love that. That's good.
Wow. I've never heard of it described like that.
It's true.
It's like a hug.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how long have you been there?
It'll be 8 years in March.
8 years. Wow.
Yeah, a long time.
Now, did you leave the hospital and go straight there, or were you
did.
involved in something else?
No, I was at the hospital for 13 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then found this job.
This
thought,
job.
This is amazing. This is going to be great. This is what I need to do.
Now, I know in the States, and maybe here is the same way, social workers get burnt out very quickly.
They do.
Because a lot of stuff you do isn't pretty.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily fun. You're dealing with people who have some hard challenges.
Yeah.
Is that the case in PALS? Or you got people, well, obviously they have a challenge because they've been diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. But is that what makes somebody need a PALS assistance in their life?
So this is why I'm trying to get the word out and about PALS, and about, many people still think PALS is end of life only, and it's not. If I always say, if you go to your doctor and he or she says, unfortunately you have PALS, the first thing you should say, you have cancer, sorry. The first thing you should say is, can you do a PALS referral for me?
Got you.
Because we want to be there from the beginning. We don't only want to be there at the end,
right.
And we want to be there when you through remission, and and we're a support. We have 6 nurses, a social worker besides me, and a doctor. So we're a full team that likes to support the whole family and not just you. Because sometimes, you're struggling, but then you don't know how to tell your kids, or you don't know how to tell your family, or you don't want to tell people, or, so we're there to help you medically, emotionally, financially, socially, everywhere.
All of the above.
Yes.
Okay.
And at no cost. That's the thing that people often don't know, is we've
no
never
cost
charged.
to you.
Correct.
I always tell people nothing's free.
No.
But hence the term charity. So
Right.
you are a charity.
We are. Right.
So you have to raise money to be able
Yeah.
to do what you do, because somebody's got, I'm sure you don't do this free.
No.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you're just independently wealthy and you just give
I
your
wish.
services.
No, that didn't happen to me. Social workers, that rarely happens to.
So you are a charity.
We are a
So
charity.
how do you get your money,
Well, different fundraisers, different events. We have our walk coming up. Then this year's our 45th anniversary, so we also are having a raffle, and just lots of stuff. And then the people that in lieu of donations, in lieu of flowers, when someone passes, they will say, please donate to PALS. We get a lot
Gotcha.
of that. We get when people pass on and they remember us in their will. There's just so much. That,
Oh, wow.
And now that we have the thrift shop, which is amazing, we have a thrift shop downstairs. Don't tell me you're on our street and you don't know that.
I mean, is this Saturdays? I always see people going
Millions
around. I
of
just
people.
never knew what was going
Yeah.
on there. I'm like, maybe they have a talk or something going
No,
on.
we have a thrift shop that's been open 7 years.
Wow.
It's open Fridays 4 to 7, Saturday 9 to 3, and Sunday 11 to 3.
Gotcha.
And it's amazing. Like people, like last night, it was the craziest night because we were closed for a month. So I think people were jonesing for their shopping.
When is it going to happen?
Yeah,
When's
yeah.
it going to happen?
So the lines just were there the whole 3 hours. It was crazy.
So now, how do you guys get stuff for your thrift shop? People just donate to you
All the time.
And do you ever have? Because I know I'll pass certain places and they say, we're not taking anything at this time. Do you always
Yeah.
take stuff?
We try not to put the sign up, but it's so unfortunate. We don't have the storage.
Right.
We've bought 3 sheds, but we just don't have the space. So we do sometimes have to put that up.
Okay,
But
okay.
we try not to because, we know that one time you see that sign, you might never come back to us again.
Got you. So whereas, so people, I know the barn and other places that have it, that, their money goes to their charity. Mm-hmm. If people donate stuff to you, the proceeds goes to PALS, to
All
keep
to
PALS going.
100% to PALS.
Got you.
Yep.
Got you. Now, you said it's not, no cost goes to the patient.
Right.
is there a particular big event that tends to bring in more funds to keep you going, or is it kind of spread out all through the year?
It's kind of spread out. I mean, our walk is a big fundraiser because it's been growing. It's over 1,000 people usually attend. And then the raffle that we're having in March and April, it's a one-off for our 45th, and I have to sing with this, so it's going to be called It's Electric. So
You're dating yourself now.
We have an electric car, an electric motorbike, and a Belco gift certificate.
Oh,
so that will
wow.
be a big fundraiser.
Big deal.
It's $100, which is kind of a lot, but there's only 1,200 tickets, so you
Okay.
might have an opportunity to win
So
one of those
1 in
prizes.
1,200. Okay, interesting. Okay, so you have a walk coming up.
We have a walk coming
When
up.
is this?
It's the last Sunday of February.
So in 4
always
weeks.
the last. So the 23rd. It is 9:00 and it starts at Pals and ends at Pals, which is 18 Point Finger Road. So you would go out, you would take a right, you go by your office, and then go down
Towards
South
south.
Road and up to the rail trail.
Okay.
The difference with our walk is you have the ability to do either 3K, 5K, or 10K. So there are turnaround spots
Wow.
if you only want to do 3K. Although many people, I think, start out with that, and then they're having so much fun that they just stay
Keep
and do
going.
the whole 10K.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this walk now for how long?
37 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It used to be, I guess, way back before my time, but it used to be from Dockyard, and people really liked it. But no.
From Dockyard?
Yeah, they'd get a ferry up and then end at Bars Park, I think. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And people still say, you go back and do the Dockyard one? So.
Yeah, that time has moved on,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
So, so people will go and get people to sign and say, we'll give you money if you walk? Or
They can get sponsorship. They pay to walk, which if you register on racedayworld.com, you pay $30 for adults and $15 for children 5 to 15.
Got you.
And then that gives you your T-shirt and your walk kits.
So you get
little
something
hoodies.
out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually doing that right now at the office today.
Okay.
Getting that all ready. And then you can get sponsorship for your walk or just do it.
Okay.
But the theme of the walk is who are you walking for? So your shirt will have like a Post-it that you can write on, and people just fill it with names and, in memory of someone or in honor of someone or in support of someone, so that's the fun thing. And I love, I'm one of the cheerleaders at the end of the line, and we have pom-poms. It's nice to see patients' families or patients that might have passed away in the last couple of years, but the families are still part of PALS.
Right.
They always will be. And so they're doing the walk in memory of someone, and it's just fun. It's a really good event. It's
and
a really
it doesn't
fun
have
event.
to be someone who is related to you. It can be a friend or a colleague or something like that.
Oh yeah, people put people's pictures. They do it for work colleagues.
Has it grown in number in terms of the amount of people who will participate? Or
The last 2 years has been over 1,000. Prior to that, I think in my time, it's been about 700.
Okay.
So yeah, it is growing.
Okay.
It's growing. We're getting a lot more kids and families, and I think more people are knowing about it. And I think I'm hoping more people are learning about PALS and just wanting to help and support anyway.
So is that just more people who want to help, or more people who are affected by cancer?
I think it's a little of both, because
Okay.
there's almost nobody that could say, I'm not affected by cancer.
Right.
I don't know anyone that's ever had cancer.
Right.
So I think it's a little of both.
Got you. People have said for a while about, it seems like there's more cancer in the island than ever. I keep trying to figure out where can I even go. As a doctor, I should know the stats, and yet there's no good place that we have that keeps these stats. And we're only a 22 square mile, we 60,000 population. Surely we should be able to keep better stats than we do, because I think that's important in terms of even being able to help those who are, quote unquote, healthy, stay healthy.
Correct. So Dr. Fosker and his team, I know, are trying to develop that through the tumor board, they call it, and, trying to develop the stats. What I've always been told is that our numbers are on par with the rest of the world, but because we're so small and we know everybody, it seems like everybody we know.
Right,
has
that's
cancer.
always been the thing.
Yeah.
So.
I think there are pockets of areas that have different cancers, and so that could be environmental or something, but I don't know that we have statistics.
Right,
about it.
but that brings up a good point, because if there's pockets, and if there's environmental link, surely that means that's something that we can have a direct influence on if we know that, hey, this area seems like it's having a lot of head and neck cancer.
Absolutely.
You know, I realize that, say, for instance, one of the big top 5 in the States is lung cancer. We don't have that kind of thing. So there are different cancers.
But the head and neck, we have a lot.
I've seen more of that,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole,
No.
but I've seen a lot of that recently,
Yeah.
which is a little scary. But I don't want to be one of these people that's just jump like there's more, but give me the access to be able to say, and you know, I don't think it's that hard to get stats
Right.
here.
No.
Because, you know, whether or not you have great insurance, whether you have no insurance, somebody is tagging you in some system to say this person has a cancer. And we
Yeah.
just need to be able to pull it out of that system. But, you know, you need people who are going to be able to do that work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's scary that such a small island doesn't invest in those things.
Yeah.
So
I think it's coming. I think it's, you know, between us and Bermuda Cancer and Health, we work very closely together. And I think that will not be very long before the stats are out.
now it's interesting because you said between you, so you are not Bermuda Cancer and Health.
We are not.
You're a separate entity.
Right.
You work independently.
But with the same patients often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even Friends of Hospice, you know, that deals with agape and stuff,
Right.
you all are different, but you tend to have a lot of overlap with the same patients.
Correct.
So do you work well together? all of
Yes,
you?
of
Okay.
course.
I just want to make
You want me to
sure
say
you know. You know.
Yes, we do. No, we
Especially
are.
when you have the same charity status, that means
Right.
technically you're also going after the same dollar bills.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sometimes it's like, I love you, but I need to go first. You know, that kind of stuff. So
No, we do. We work very closely with Bermuda Cancer and Health. I mean, our teams meet collectively every week to talk about patients and shared patients. You know, and people are always like, "What's the difference?" And so the difference is, and it's quite easy, but Bermuda Cancer and Health does the diagnostic and the radiation, and PALS helps you after all that,
Right.
with the symptoms and
Or
the home
during
care.
that.
Or
Yeah,
during that. Yeah,
right.
sorry, but with the symptom management and the, you know, the after effects, the
Right.
side effects, we help you with that.
yeah, so like I'm getting some burning. Is this natural or normal? And
Yeah.
God forbid you try to get the doctor on the phone. They already have like 100 patients, so they won't know. But here you have a PALS nurse
Yep.
who's
That's
going to be
available
able to.
24 hours a day.
Right.
so you
Well, that's a
can
big
just
deal.
Yeah. So there's
'Cause-
someone on 24 hours a day, and you would just call and to say, "Oh, I don't know. I feel so sick. I don't know what to do." And they will either guide you, tell you what to take, or tell you to go to the emergency room.
It was amazing when I was in med school. I can't remember if it was my med school or my residency. I did a rotation in Bermuda, and part of my rotation was to work with not only Agape but with PALS nurses. So I got to go out with them and see what they did. It's an amazing feat that they do
Yeah.
because they have to deal with sometimes some really rough stuff.
Absolutely.
And you have to have some good fortitude to be able to do that. So, you know, I give all the praise to the nurses and stuff. And a lot of times, even when I came back, you know, yeah, I'm the doctor. But a lot of times it's like, you know, I'd ask the nurse, what do you want me to do? Because they've been doing this for X amount of years.
Right.
They're in the trenches. And if they're like, he needs some of this or he needs some of that, I'm not going to say, well, you know, I'm the doctor. I'll make that. I'd be like, girl, I'm going to get this to you right away.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so-
Our nurses they're so knowledgeable. That,
They are.
You know, you definitely want their advice.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I can see why you'd want them, and they can kind of flow in and out of your treatment in terms of how much you need them, depending. So if you're just there and you're just like, I don't need you to come to my house every week, but if I need to call you about something, you know, you're in their system.
Right.
So I can see why you want them there.
People say sometimes they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't want to see your van in our yard. We don't want anyone on our street to know."
Oh, Lord
so
have
we're
mercy.
like, "Come to us. Come to our office. We'll meet you for lunch at your office."
Right.
Like, what can we do? You know, I don't know why people are embarrassed. They're still embarrassed by it, and it's
Yeah.
not an embarrassing
Oh,
diagnosis.
gosh, no.
You didn't do anything to get this.
I would have never thought somebody would feel that
Oh,
way. But
lots of people. They don't
Wow.
want PALS because there's still the perception that PALS is end of life.
Right.
And so they're like, "I'm not dying, so I don't want you in my yard."
It'd be like, hey, you got pals? Are you okay? I need some soup. Can you bring me some soup, please? But no, I can see, you know, that people need different types of health, and like you said, whether now do you guys? So you help in terms of helping with medical care. What about stuff? I need. access to a bed or a piece of equipment. Do you guys help with that too?
Absolutely. We have a basement full of beds, wheelchairs, walkers, commodes,
Oh, wow.
everything. That's all free.
Okay.
We give to our patients. And
that's no charge.
no
not
charge.
free.
no charge. Sorry.
There you go.
Right.
Right.
Because then when people do pass away, we get so much back.
Right.
That actually twice a year we do like a clean out and give to all the rest homes on the island because we get
good.
so much stuff. But yes, no charge.
Okay, excellent. So, that's another thing about being in your system so that as you progress, if you do get worse and need something, pals can help you do
there.
that.
Yeah.
You can help do that. So, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And like is it even a matter of certain not medicines, but say for instance Ensure or whatever the case may be? You help with that as well.
We sell Ensure at our office at cost.
Okay.
But we also, if you are unable to pay, the social worker can financially assess you, and we can give it to you for free.
Wow. Okay.
There's other, oftentimes people might be on a chemo medication and it's $10,000 a month, and their copay would be $2,000 a month, and they're like, I just can't pay. So
Right.
they could meet with the social worker, and we could assist with that. We pay when people go overseas and they need, say if they have Human Future Care, it doesn't cover your airfare or your
cover
hotel.
anything almost.
So we do that.
Right.
And we help also when people do have major medical and go for an extended period of time and can't pay the thousands of dollars for the hotel. We'll pay it up front, and we can claim it back from the insurance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you do the hard work, which is what the social workers
Right.
helped with even when they were in the
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah, they did.
do you guys follow them in the hospital when they're here, or you kind of step back, let the hospital do their thing, and then meld back in?
We follow them when we know.
Okay.
We're not always told. We receive referrals when people are in the hospital, but we don't actually start seeing them until they come out, because oftentimes we'll get referrals for things that should be done
Part of
in the
there,
hospital.
right? Yeah, they should be doing
Yeah,
that.
right.
Now, what if you've already been following them
Then
and they
we
end
will.
up having to go in the hospital for something? You'll still keep with them.
We will still keep with
Okay,
them,
good.
and we'll visit them. And we also very much try to keep people out of the hospital, which is one of our things.
Yes. It's important. thing.
And so as much as we can do to prevent that,
Right.
is we like that.
And I think it's not always, and I tell people it's not a knock on the nurses and stuff, but a lot of times they're undermanned. That their resources are going to be thin. So I tell people, if you think that your elderly so and so is in the hospital and they're safe, if somebody's not turning them every 2 hours or
Right.
something, they leave there with a bed sore or something, and it's not because the nurse did it on purpose. It's like they had 30 patients and no help.
Right.
Right. So it's an incredible. Things seem harder now than they did back when I first came back.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put a point a finger at why sometimes.
Right.
Is it because there are sicker people? Is it because there's less resources in the community? Is there a combination? And social workers, as you know, have to, somehow swim through all that tide to try to help, facilitate people from going from one place to another place, or one, ability to handle their medical care to another ability.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a more aging population, because the resources seem to kind of be the same as when back in the day when I was doing it, but
Right.
but they're all full,
Right.
and then we have like 3 or 4 wards at the hospital full. Like it's just I don't know what's going on.
It's strange because when we got kicked out of the hospital, one of their reasons were you guys are keeping your patients in the hospital too long. And now what do we have? We have patients who are being kept in the hospital too
Right,
long. So
right.
it wasn't a nature of the doctor. It's a nature of the issues that patients have.
Yeah.
And sometimes we might keep them differently because we know the situation at home,
At
that
home,
it's not
yeah.
safe or, doesn't have the resources. I think that social workers and social workers seem to be in a lot of different areas. So there's social workers attached to PALS. Financial assistance has
they're
social
all
workers,
social workers, yeah.
because once again you have to be able to know what's going on behind the scenes. Your
Right.
social life has an effect on your medical life, on your financial life, so somebody needs to be able to bring those groups together.
Correct.
And the social worker as a rule has a lot of that burden to carry,
Yeah,
hence
yeah.
why there's burnout.
Right.
So-
Right. Even the community health or aging and disability, they have a lot of social workers. They are so chock-a-block. They have way too many people. I don't know. It's just there's I don't know what's going on.
Right. It's a little scary sometimes. And I tell people that nowadays, unfortunately, and I hear it even in the tone that when I hear the politicians speak, we automatically assume as aging as illness.
Right.
Like if you get older, we have to be prepared for you to be ill. Versus how do we prevent our people who are getting older? Because there was a time that older people weren't sick people. They were still very functional out in the community. They were doing their own thing. They were living in their own environment right up until the time of death. And now it seems like as soon as something collapses, it all collapses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is why you're getting more of a burden being placed on the resources of Bermuda. Are you guys solvent? Are you guys doing well financially, or is it a challenge to keep your books in the good zone year to year?
We're doing well. I mean,
Okay.
I have always been transparent, and we are not a broke charity.
Okay,
you know?
good.
I mean, our budget is about $2.5 million a year,
Wow.
and 80% is spent on patient care.
Got you.
We probably have over $4 million in the bank. That's public knowledge. You can see that on our
Because you're a charity, you have to
right.
declare that, right?
But we also say, like, if donations stopped today and we never got another one, we'd probably be we might have 2 years, which I know many charities on island have 3 months reserves. You
Right.
know, so we're good, but we can't stop because we would like to grow. We want to offer more services to patients. You know, we'd love to offer more like survivorship programs, which is not on this island, or programs like we've started an integrative oncology program, which includes nutrition with Catherine Burns, movement, reflexology, psychology, all at no charge to the patient.
I like that. I like that.
So we do have that as well. And,
Right.
you know, it's more about now living with cancer.
Right.
How can you improve your life while you're living with cancer? So we're trying to improve quality of life.
Well, you know, it's amazing because I think some of the better cancer treatment centers that I have seen, at least in the States, I don't know about the other places, were integrative in their approach because you knew that cancer wasn't just about the cells in the body or the treatment that they had to go to, but, you know, are you eating well? Do you have stress? You know, are you getting support from your family or your community, or do you have no support? Are you going to be able to afford the medications that come afterwards? What is your perception of medication? There's some people who just don't believe in, you know, our allopathic way of treating cancer. They still need support. Through whatever stage they're at, and just leaving them on their own is not an acceptable thought process to go through. And you guys, I guess, would have to, you know, whether they choose to go to Bermuda Cancer and Health or not, you guys have to walk along with them.
We do. There's so many, and it's unfortunate there's so many young people that say, nope, I'm not doing treatment, because they might have lost someone and they've watched it all and they're like, I'm not doing that. But then they die, and it's so sad. But, you know, we do say, we're with you, whatever your decision is.
Right.
And
we
you
have to respect
we
it.
don't try to change your mind. And we do. We will honor whatever you want.
Yeah, and you have to respect the autonomy of that individual. I think the patient, and this is where I've said for a long time, the patient has to come before the doctor. Or, you know, oh, he seemed like he was upset with me when I was like, that's his problem. That's not yours.
Yeah, right.
You know,
it's your body, your life.
And you have to make the best decision for yourself. Whether we agree with it or not, that's not the point of this whole thing. So walking alongside of them right up to the bitter end is a very noble task. So I give you guys all the praise there. So
thank you.
You're listening to Medical Radio here on Magic 102.7. It is February the 1st in the year of our Lord 2025. And we appreciate you staying around and hanging out with us. We are talking to Colleen English de Grilla. Of PALS. She is a trained social worker who now runs the charity PALS, who is in charge of helping with cancer care, the care of a patient who has been diagnosed with cancer anywhere along their continuum, whether it is the first day they've ever known they had it or the last breath that they take. They are there for those, not just the patient, but the family as well.
Absolutely,
correct? So, you know, when you become part of their system, all of your family also becomes part of that system, because it's important that everybody get the support, whether it's emotional, whether it's financial, whether it's medical services. You guys kind of all in one. You take care of everything.
We do.
That's an impressive feat.
Yeah, it is.
Was there some one person that kind of started this, or how did this even...
45 years ago, there was a nurse named Hilary Soares, who, there were people stuck in the hospital with cancer, and it was probably around the same time as AIDS, and people thought, oh, it might be contagious. They can't come home. So she reached out to several nurse friends and said, would you help me? And would you be a pal to these patients? And they started visiting them and helping them and driving them, and then would take them home. So then it was determined that we really should have a nurse to us. So government gave us a 1 day a week nurse loaned us from the TB department, and then we found it was way too many patients, and so there was a producer, or a Hollywood producer that lived here, Robert Stigwood, and he paid for a part-time nurse for 2 years.
Wow.
That was Anita Ferbert. She was the first ever PALS nurse. I don't know if you know her.
Okay. Wow.
And then from then on, it's
just grown.
Yeah. Oh,
as the need has grown.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, we get 25 new referrals every month, and we probably lose 10 patients a month.
Wow.
But I mean, when I started, we were getting 10 referrals a month. Now it's just so many. And I don't think it's because cancer's increasing. I think it's because people are learning more about PALS and what we do and how we can be there early and help you.
How many's on your books?
About 250.
About 250. Okay. And that kind of is a stays there with more coming on, some
right
going
now,
off.
Yeah.
Kind of that's kind of the new.
We make inactive if you don't need us anymore, but you're still always in our book. So if you need us, you just call us and we come back on. But
now, when you say when you don't need me anymore, would that be because you passed, or
no? Sorry.
I just want to make sure we understand.
No, you don't need us then. No, because some people when they go in remission or they start feeling better, and they're like, you don't need to check in on me anymore. I'm good.
Right.
And I'll call you if I need you.
Right.
So
okay,
we
that's
do that.
good.
We make them inactive.
So as long as they have a diagnosis of some kind of cancer, then you're there for them.
Correct.
And then all they need to do is be able to reach out at any time along that continuum to say either, yes, I need a lot more care, or no, go help people who really need your help. I'm good right now.
Absolutely. And we check in as little or as much as you want. Sometimes people are just a phone call. Don't visit me, just call me every month. And I think the nurses like those.
Gives them more time for those who are really in need.
Right.
So let's see what this call is. Good morning. You're on Medical Radio.
Good morning, Dr. D.
Good morning, sir.
You touched a subject with their guest there, going back to the history of when PAL started. I need, on that point, I need to know, as the lady knows, of a young man, well, he's passed now, but his name was Jerry Griffiths. I would like to know his affiliation with PALS, because from my understanding, he was there when it first started.
Oh,
he was a St. David's Islander, and we used to. When he saw you, he greeted you as pal before pals was even on the in our system. Right. So if the lady knows anything about Jerry Griffiths, could she let us know over the radio, please?
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Now, I guess you haven't been here that long.
I haven't.
And so the idea that you would know who this person is?
I do not know, but I will definitely find out.
Okay.
And I will come back and tell you, because I've not heard Terry Griffiths.
Griffiths, it sounded like, from St. David's.
Yeah, so I will definitely find out, because I am in touch with Ann Smith Gordon, the previous person who was me for 30-something years. Even though she's almost 90, her brain is amazing. So I will call her and I'll find out.
That brings up an interesting point, because a lot of sometimes these charities or these organizations that have been around a long time, they have so much rich history that should probably be culminated in some form of book or something, so that people can see the journey. Do you guys have anything like that?
Well, so Anne is writing a book. It's almost done. I think it's done. They're just proofreading it. So that has the history. There is also we have a chapter in a worldwide palliative care hospice book that I share with people a lot, that tells the history.
Got you.
So I know I try to keep the history alive. I try to keep the framework the same and not be too much. But this is now challenging me, so I'm going to go find out.
And sometimes, there are people who play a part but stay under the radar that, the big guys might not know about, but the people who were the worker bees would know very much, oh, this nurse did this or this person did that. Because back in the day, you guys didn't have a cancer doctor or doctor with you.
No.
So the the primary care doctor had to be the your family doctor had to be your liaison between their cancer treatment and you guys.
Correct. And I think Dr. Cook was very instrumental in...
Right, that was before my time.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think, because I came back in 2002. I don't remember Dr. Cook at this time. So, but, as we see, we're having challenges keeping oncologists here in the island. So that's a whole other situation. But no, I part of, at least in the training in the States, was being part of that end of life care, cancer care. So we were quite comfortable with that. But some aren't. Some are like, nah, I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. It can be quite hard emotionally on the people who are helping out as well.
I'm sure.
Let's take this next call. Good morning. You're on Medical Radio.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. D.
Good morning.
Again.
Good morning.
I just heard a call about gentleman Jerry Griffiths, whom I knew.
You knew him.
He was involved. I think he was a founding member of Focus.
Of Focus?
Yeah.
Okay.
I stand be correct. I think he might have been involved in PALS, but I think he was involved with Focus.
Okay.
That was the one of the organizations I think he co-founded.
Right, because Focus was involved in people who were going through rehab for drug and or alcohol usage. Right.
I think he was. I think Jerry was a big. He was involved with that spokesman and one of the founding members. I think he was involved. This is what the lady said. The nurse Hillary Stewart, was it Hillary Stewart?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he was involved with her too. But I think he was in. Could have been PALS, but I think he was involved with Focus.
Okay, and see, that's where we need to be able to tie this down. But thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Have a good one, sir. Take it easy. So you got your work cut out for you. You got to find out if this is in your wheelhouse or in Focus's wheelhouse.
Right.
So, do you guys have anything big that you want to accomplish in terms of how PALS functions? I mean, I know you do all these different events, but where do you see PALS? Are they going to? So I know, like Friends of Hospice is now trying to build a new facility. To the hospice care on the hospital grounds has been woefully inadequate for a long time, and the money just hasn't been invested there. So they're going to make sure that happens for that population. But for you guys, do you have anything that you're going to be coming up with that you can think of overhand, or are you kind of touching everything you need to right now?
I think just if we can grow our space, we would love to, like I said, have more programs to improve your quality of life while you're living with cancer.
Okay.
So I think that's something we could be focusing on.
Okay, good. Okay, let's take this next call. Good morning, you're on Medical Radio.
Good morning, Dr. D. How are you?
I am so wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
Beautiful.
I just want to say thanks to PALS, because when I was going through, I really appreciated the nurse who came to my house. She even came to my job. That's how dedicated they are.
Wow.
Thank you.
I really, really, really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much.
And be encouraged, because this journey is not easy.
Tell me, because, it's been mentioned that some people get very intimidated by having a PALS truck come in front of them. Did you have any issues with people knowing what you were going through?
This was 24 years ago, so she had her own transportation.
So it wasn't a big old truck that said PALS on it or anything like that. Did you share what you were going through with people who knew you, or you just kept it quiet?
No. I shared it because you just never know.
Right.
Who may be going through the same thing. Like it happened to me. I was working in the bank, and this young lady came in and said, "This is what I'm going through." So I took her in my office and let her know that, she can get through it, because I've been through it. And we just bonded. You just help somebody. You never know who you can help.
Right, correct.
By your experience,
Amen. That's very true.
How does go now? Make your your testimony? Something like that. Make your message, something like that. Yeah. But thanks to PAL.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you for reaching out.
I'm happy they were there,
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out.
My nurse was named Sharon.
Sharon? Okay.
Yeah, I think she was named Sharon. Yeah.
Okay.
It was awesome.
All right.
That's great. Thank you so much.
I'm thankful so much for your organization.
Thank you.
Amen.
All righty. Take care.
Have a good one now.
Very interesting talk.
Thank you. Take it easy.
God bless.
God bless you too now. Bye-bye. All right, let's take this next call. Good morning, you're on Medical Radio.
Dr. D, and your nurse that is there. I'm calling to say yes, all that she's saying is quite true, because they were there from the beginning with my husband until the end.
Wow.
And the PALS nurse, she was something else. I don't know if she's still there. Her name was Susan.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's not. But I remember her.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kathy.
Kathy's still there.
Oh, Kathy's still there.
25 years, I think.
Ooh,
Yep.
yeah. And all that she's saying is true. The equipment, they set up my bedroom with all the equipment in it for my husband.
Wow.
And I was so grateful. She would say, don't you worry about anything, you would have it. And at the weekend, all the supply was here.
You know, that's one of the reasons why when people keep saying, well, the government needs to do this for us, and government do that, these kind of organizations is where the people fill in the gap when other people need stuff. So we appreciate that.
True. That is so true.
Amen.
And I'm listening to it and I'm saying, well, I normally don't call, but I said I just have to call to say how thankful I was how they were with me.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
And I mean, Susan, she said, you'd have to leave the house because it's very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And she would be there. She'll park her van there, and she'll see you until I got out of the house while the caregiver is here for a few hours.
Right.
And then, with everything else, she said, you don't have to worry about anything. If he had the appointment, she was there. And if I needed any support, she was there. So I'm so grateful how they walked me through that journey, and they walked with me.
Excellent, excellent. Well,
So God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you,
so
and
much.
thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I had to because, and like she said, I was able to help other wives that were going through.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And, and I would say with pals, and every time I can help out, I do it.
Beautiful.
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Keep up the rest. So God bless you.
God bless you, too.
And keep up the good work. So I'll be praying for each and every one of you.
Thank
Amen.
you.
Thank you.
Love and prayers.
Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. I'm going to take one more call, and then we will finish off. Good morning. You're on Medical Radio.
Morning, Dr. T. How are you?
We're blessed, sir. How about yourself?
I'm always blessed, brother.
Amen. Amen. What do you got for us?
My eyes are focused. I'm in focus. Listen, I just wanted to also just give a little thanks to pals as well, because I remember when my dad was going through some phases in his life, and he had emphysema, and they were very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
They were very helpful. They used to come around. They would talk to him, try to lift him up, so to speak, mentally, give him some sense of inspiration. And they were also very helpful with, his need for oxygen and different things like that. They were fantastic. So they helped my dad in his last days. So,
right.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. You help people. You might not be able to fix them, but they certainly were there to try to uplift and help.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
God bless you, pal. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And all of you have the rest of a great day. I love you all. God bless you.
Thank you,
too.
and God bless
You're
you as well. Take it easy, my friend.
God bless.
God bless you. So, all right. Well, as we wrap up, do you have any choice words that you'd like to add to this conversation?
Well, I like to ask the listeners, if you have learned anything from me today, even one thing, please share it with 3 friends, because we are, again, trying to spread the word about who we are and what we do and clarify. So please tell 3 people what you learned today.
There you go. There you go. And so your next big event will be
The walk on February 23rd.
Okay. And they can still sign up for that?
Absolutely, up until the 22nd.
Okay. And where's that going to be? Or where can they sign up for it?
RaceDayWorld.com, or if you don't have a computer, you're not tech savvy, walk into the office any day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and
Okay.
we can sign you up.
And you can sign, because
Yeah.
not everybody has all this
No.
computer gizmos. Some people want to help, but just don't
Yeah.
have that connection. Okay, excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we are finished for today. I want to thank you all for listening and tuning in and doing your thing and just kind of being a part of it. I hope you learned something today from both my guests, and just keep on keeping on. I think it's important that we understand that life isn't supposed to be lifing alone. You're supposed to be doing it with the people in your life who can help support you in every way. And sometimes the people are not necessarily just your family. They are your community. We have to keep Bermuda communities together, guys, because otherwise we're going to be in bad, well, we already are in bad shape, but we have a way forward, and it's about trying to stay together. So stay together, guys, and don't go anywhere. The Need to Lead is coming up next. Don't
Thank
go
you.
anywhere. Bye-bye.
Bye.